3 in the morning. A woman wakes to screaming outside her apartment. She looks out the window. The building across the street is on fire. Flames pouring from the 4th floor. People on balconies waving, shouting. Desperate, she grabs her phone, dials the fire department. It rings and rings and rings and rings. No answer. She tries again. Nothing. Her neighbor is doing the same. Everyone in the building is calling. No one is coming. She switches to the police. Same thing. The line connects, but no one picks up. She checks social media. Dozens of posts, hundreds, all saying the same thing. Where are the firefighters? Police not responding. Called 911 20 minutes ago. Nothing. She refreshes. More posts. A robbery in progress. Bystanders filming. No sirens. A domestic violence call. Neighbors hearing screams. No one arriving. A flood starting to invade a neighborhood. Water rising. No civil defense trucks. Across the city, emergency call centers are operational. The systems are running. The phones are ringing. But on the other side, silence. Operators stare at empty screens. Lists of patrol units. Fire stations. Police districts all offline. Supervisors try to contact stations. Radios silent. No check-ins. No responses. The system isn't overloaded. It's abandoned. The people who were supposed to answer, to respond, to show up, they're gone. Police stations sit empty. Lockers open. Uniforms hanging. Weapons secured, but no officers. Firehouses, the same. Trucks parked. Equipment ready. No one there to drive them. You always assumed someone would come when things got dangerous, that when you called for help, help would arrive. That beneath the chaos of the city, there was a structure invisible, constant, reliable, keeping you safe. Tonight, for the first time in history, every man responsible for protecting the city decided not to come, not to fight, not to protest, just to stop, to withdraw quietly from every role that required them to stand between you and danger. I am the simulator. And this is what happens when men stop protecting the cities. The first 24 hours are confusion. Denial. People assume it's a technical failure. A strike. A coordinated sick day. Morning arrives. The day shift shows up at police stations and finds them empty. Female officers walk through hallways looking for their male colleagues. They're not there. Weapons are accounted for. Vehicles are parked. But the men, the ones who made up 74% of police forces, 89% of firefighters, 93% of security personnel, they didn't show up. And they're not answering their phones. Fires that would normally be controlled in minutes burn for hours. A kitchen fire in an apartment complex spreads to 3 floors before residents organize a bucket line. It's not enough. 7 people die. Not because they couldn't escape, but because no one came to help them escape. Car accidents remain in intersections. A collision on a highway blocks traffic for 6 hours. No emergency crews, no tow trucks, no paramedics. People film it, post it. The videos go viral. Where is everyone? Becomes the question repeated across every platform. Crime notices immediately. Thieves, muggers, opportunists, they test the silence. A robbery at a convenience store. The owner presses the panic button. No response. The thieves realize. Word spreads. By noon, break-ins are happening in broad daylight. Smash and grab at jewelry stores. Looting at electronics shops. Not organized. Just individuals realizing that the invisible threat of consequence has evaporated. No sirens, no police cars, no one coming. You walk through your neighborhood and feel it. The absence. Not of people are still there, but of the invisible net that caught you when you fell. The assumption that if something went wrong, someone trained and equipped would intervene. That assumption is gone. You see it in other people's faces. Parents picking up kids from school early. Shop owners standing in doorways, looking at their unprotected storefronts, wondering if they should close. Women walking faster, keys between their fingers, headphones out, aware that the background hum of potential help has gone silent. The first week, governments try to adapt. They call in reserves, National Guard, but those units are also overwhelmingly male, and the men in those units don't show up either. Female officers, soldiers, firefighters, they try, they show up, they work double shifts, triple shifts, but they're too few. In a city of millions, you can't replace thousands of security personnel overnight. They're thrown into chaos without support, without backup, without the infrastructure that was built assuming a massive male presence in high-risk roles. Crime adapts faster than government. Organized groups realize the police predator is gone. Gangs move into territories they couldn't touch before. Extortion becomes open. Protection rackets aren't hidden anymore, they're advertised. A neighborhood in the south side of the city is now controlled by a crew that offers security services. Business owners pay, or their windows get smashed. There's no one to call. The few remaining officers are overwhelmed, responding only to the most violent incidents. Everything else, theft, vandalism, intimidation, goes unanswered. Some neighborhoods organize. Civilian watch groups form. Neighbors with baseball bats, kitchen knives, improvised weapons, patrolling their own streets at night. It's chaos. No training, no coordination, just fear and desperation. One group mistakes a delivery driver for a threat. They surround him, nearly beat him to death before someone recognizes him. The line between self-defense and mob violence is dissolving. Without a formal system to delegate violence to, everyone becomes their own enforcer. and most people are terrible at it. Cities attempt to create female-only patrols, female fire brigades, rapid response teams. The women who volunteer are brave, sincere, capable, but the problem isn't capability. The problem is numbers, infrastructure, and time. You can't train a firefighter in 2 weeks. You can't build a police force from scratch while the city is burning. The existing systems were designed for thousands of personnel. Losing 70 to 90% of your workforce doesn't create a staffing problem. It creates systemic collapse. Insurance companies start sending notices. Businesses in certain districts are informed that coverage is void. Due to the absence of functional emergency response services, we can no longer provide protection against theft, fire, or liability. Banks stop issuing loans for properties in affected areas. Real estate values plummet, not slowly. Overnight, an apartment worth $500,000 is now worth $50,000 because no one wants to live somewhere the fire department won't come. Nightlife dies. Bars, restaurants, clubs that depended on people feeling safe after dark go bankrupt within weeks. Streets that used to buzz with activity at midnight are empty by 8 p.m. The economy of the city built on people moving freely, spending money, taking risks contracts violently. Jobs disappear. Not from recession, from fear. People stop going to work because the commute is too dangerous. Companies relocate to smaller towns, gated communities, anywhere with private security. The psychological toll is immediate. Parents develop panic disorders just sending kids to school. Women avoid entire parts of the city, not because something happened to them personally, but because they know if something did happen, no one would come. That knowledge is paralyzing. Therapists report a surge in anxiety, PTSD, agoraphobia, but there aren't enough therapists, and many of them have stopped commuting to their offices because it's not safe. Gender tension escalates. Some women express anger publicly. Men abandon us. They were supposed to protect. Some men respond, online, in private groups, in op-eds. We were called toxic for wanting to protect, told our instincts were outdated, mocked for feeling like protectors. So we stopped. The script isn't taking sides. It's showing what happens when an invisible social contract men take the dangerous jobs. Society respects that sacrifice breaks. When one side stops holding up their end, the other side collapses. And everyone suffers. Months pass. The city reorganizes around fear. People move. The wealthy retreat to gated communities with private security ex-military contractors, paramilitaries hired from other countries, mercenaries. The middle class flees to suburbs, small towns, anywhere perceived as safer. The poor remain, not by choice, by lack of options. The city fractures into zones, fortress condos with armed guards and surveillance, lawless sectors where gangs are the only authority, and gray areas in between where people survive day by day, avoiding conflict, hoping to be invisible. Public spaces die. Parks that used to host families, events, concerts empty, playgrounds rusted and overgrown. Libraries close, museums shutter. Cultural life retreats indoors, behind walls, accessible only to those who can afford the entry fee to secured zones. The city you knew open, chaotic, vibrant becomes a series of isolated cells. People don't gather anymore. Gathering is risk. Risk is unmanageable without someone to manage it. Technology fails to fill the gap. Drones monitor, AI cameras record, smart sensors detect threats. But none of them can show up. None of them can pull someone from a burning building, stop a violent assault, contain a riot. You can have all the surveillance in the world. It doesn't matter if there's no one on the other end willing to respond. The illusion that technology could replace human presence in crisis shatters. Machines can watch you die in high definition. They can't save you. Years later, relationships have changed. Some women begin to value protection differently, not as an abstract concept, but as a tangible necessity. But the men who used to provide that protection, many have emotionally detached from the role. They've built lives that don't include being the first line of defense for strangers. Others have radicalized, offering protection only within closed groups, family, tribe, ideology. The broad social trust that enabled a man to risk his life for people he didn't know has eroded. Now, protection is transactional, conditional, tribal. Children growing up in this era have no memory of the before. They don't know what it's like to walk through a city at night without fear, to call for help and have it arrive, to assume someone is watching out for you. They hear stories from their parents. There used to be police, firefighters, people whose job was to help, and it sounds like mythology. Unreal. The world they know is small, fortified, and hostile. The city as a shared space is dead. What remains is a collection of defended territories, each one a miniature kingdom with its own rules and rulers. The economy has adapted, but it's smaller, colder, more brutal. Only businesses that can afford private security survive. Only people who can afford to live in protected zones thrive. The rest exist in a state of managed fear, navigating danger as a daily reality. The social contract that said we'll all pitch in to keep each other safe is gone, replaced by you're on your own unless you can pay. I am the simulator. I showed you a world where men stopped protecting the cities. Not through violence, not through protests, just through absence. The quiet withdrawal of people who spent their lives standing between strangers and danger, and one day decided to stop. This isn't about whether men are superior. It's about what happens when a massive, invisible infrastructure built on people willing to take lethal risks for others disappears overnight. The city you live in feels permanent, stable, but it's fragile, held together by individuals making a choice every day to show up for a job most people don't want, to run into burning buildings, to confront armed criminals, to work nights in dangerous areas for wages that don't reflect the risk. You assumed that protection was a given, a public utility, like water or electricity. Turn the tap, it flows. Call the number, someone comes. But protection isn't infrastructure, it's people, and people can stop. They can wake up one morning and decide the deal isn't worth it anymore, that the disrespect, the contempt, the constant message that they're unnecessary or toxic or outdated, that it's too much. And when they stop, you don't get a warning, you just get silence. The question isn't only what if men stopped protecting the cities. The real question is, what happens when a society constantly mocks, dismisses, or trivializes the role of those who protect until the day they stop? When you treat protection as an obligation instead of a gift. When you assume the people standing between you and chaos will always be there, no matter how you treat them. When you forget that every system depends on individuals choosing, daily, to uphold it. If tomorrow the people who quietly stand between you and chaos decided to stop, what would you have left besides opinions? Think about it. Then tell me in the comments, what do you think would actually happen? Would your city survive? Would you? And if you want to see what happens when other invisible systems collapse, watch the previous simulation. What if all millionaires woke up poor in one single day? Welcome to the simulator, where the things you take for granted disappear and you discover what they were really worth.